Rise and shine, everyone, and welcome to your Tuesday. Jason Hackett riding solo here this morning. Alicia has the day off. Let's get over to Ben for a look at our forecast this morning. Chilly once again, but at least you don't have that wind cutting through you this morning.
Yeah, did you have to run to your car this morning or run from your car to the station?
I didn't. It was a brisk walk, but not a run.
Okay, so we're not running around this morning. Temperature still on the cooler side. Temperature-wise, we're about the same as we were this time yesterday, but A, the wind is not quite as strong, and B, temperatures are actually warming up. So the coldest air is now pushing off towards the east. New Richmond still at 19 degrees, but you can see we warm up further west. Right now, St. Cloud's at 24, Wilmer at 25, Marshall is at 31 degrees this morning. The wind has turned southerly and should remain that way through most of the day today. Bit on the breezier side, so we do have wind chill values ranging from the upper single digits to low teens, so it is on the cooler side. But as we head deeper into the day, as the temperature warms up, the wind chill is going to respond nicely as well. Air temperature back above freezing by noontime. Warmest part of the day is about mid-afternoon, mid to upper 30s in the forecast, and the wind chill a couple degrees cooler, but the wind is expected to be calmer as we head deeper into the afternoon. Let's take a quick look at traffic this morning. We are looking at, looks like a stalled vehicle. This is 494 just outside the airport at Highway 5. You can see the car does not have its hazard lights flashing, so it might be an incident that you might want to watch out for. Again, that's 494, not causing any traffic delays, but that's the only incident we're looking at. Otherwise, green and good on this Tuesday morning. Jason.
That is good to see, Ben. Thank you very much. Of course, it's getting warmer and more dangerous on the ice. That's the warning this morning from the DNR after dozens were rescued on Upper Red Lake. Photos came into the newsroom less than 13 hours ago of that rescue. Cece Gaines is live at East Medicine Lake in Plymouth with more on how to stay safe. Cece, good morning.
Good morning. 35 people were stranded in that situation. Thankfully, though, we're told no one was hurt. But officials say they get called to that spot a lot, and it's usually before the ice is stable, as you saw in those photos. Now, this morning, the Minnesota DNR is asking everyone to stay on shore until there are at least 4 inches of new clear ice. And that's because ice conditions this time of year can change quickly, and falling into the cold water can turn tragic fast. Officials say if you're heading onto the ice, check the thickness yourself and don't rely on other people's footprints, tracks, or social media posts.
Not all ice is good ice, and not all ice is consistent. You know, you might have 10 inches in one spot, and then as ice moves about and heaves or pulls apart, it creates these pockets that aren't safe. And so you got to be very careful when you're on the ice.
Some other safety guidelines this morning: ice needs to be 5 to 7 inches for a snowmobile, a foot for a car, and 13 to 17 inches for a truck. Also, make sure the ice is at least 20 inches thick when putting up your ice house. Now, this morning, officials are also advising you to wear a life jacket. That initial shock of falling into the water can be intense for even the strongest swimmers. They're also saying to have a good set of ice picks and a cell phone handy. Coming up in about 30 minutes, we're actually going to be telling you the timeline of how long it could take you to get hypothermia if you were to fall into the water. Jason.
Yeah, just got to be careful out there as this warm fall/winter continues here in Minnesota. Cece Gaines reporting live for us this morning. Thank you. There's new information that came down within the last 24 hours about a deadly shooting involving police in Marshall. A woman who police say was being stabbed when officers arrived Sunday is now dead. That's according to the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. So here's what police say happened. Officers were called to a home on Brussels Court for a domestic disturbance. That's when police say they saw a man stabbing a woman. At one point, shots were fired after police say the suspect came in contact with an officer. The suspect died at the scene, while the woman later died at a South Dakota hospital. The BCA hasn't identified either of the people involved. This morning, there's a new bench coming to Minneapolis North High School in honor of a student athlete killed by gun violence. That bench is dedicated to Deshaun Hill. He was just 15 years old when he was shot and killed in February of 2022. He's remembered as a star quarterback. The bench is expected to be placed outside of the school's football complex. Some of his former teammates shared what this means to them.
He was supposed to graduate this year with us. But this means a lot. Thank you.
At yesterday's ceremony, Lupe Development announced a program to hire North High School students who graduate under the Carpenters Training Institute program. Turning now to the war in the Middle East, Israel is facing backlash for mistakenly killing 3 hostages. And now there's renewed talks of a ceasefire. NBC's Hallie Jackson reports from Tel Aviv.
A lot happening in the region now with new pressure and new anger to try to get the Netanyahu government to a deal to get the Israeli hostages believed to be held captive in Gaza home. You are seeing now, according to a U.S. official, the CIA head meeting with his Qatari and Israeli counterparts in Europe to try to get some movement on that, to try to get some forward motion on some kind of a deal for a temporary truce, potentially. And you're also seeing the defense secretary here in Israel. He is talking with the Israeli prime minister. He is talking with other top officials here to try to get a sense of what Israel needs to see in order to move to the next phase of its operation. We know that the Biden administration, according to multiple sources, wants to see a more targeted approach from Israel at some point. Publicly, they have not specified a timeline here, but that has been part of the conversation now behind the scenes. Obviously, a temporary truce would be impactful for those hostage negotiation talks and the potential release of hostages, but also for getting aid into Gaza, a place that so desperately needs it, with the Hamas-run health ministry saying that nearly 20,000 Palestinians have been killed since the start of this war in Gaza. We're going to have much more coming up later on this morning, coming up on Today.
Well, the next time you take the bus at Metro Transit's Mall of America station, you may notice some new features aimed at improving accessibility.
I'm Kaya Edwards. Metro Transit has made a couple of improvements at the Mall of America Transit Center to try to make the journey to and from the mall safer for people who are visually impaired. Crews added textured strips to the pavement, creating paths to follow along. They also moved benches back to create more room and fewer obstacles while getting on and off the buses and trains.
6:07 on the clock. The Minneapolis mayor's office is in a new spot, but only temporarily. Mayor Frey's office sent out a message 24 hours ago saying it's now in the Public Service Center on 4th Street. That's about a block away from the current office, which is now under construction. The office is expected to be back to its normal location by this time next year, but that could change depending on the construction schedule. After a year and a half, we're learning the results of a pilot program that gave 150 families in St. Paul a guaranteed income of $500 a month. The program was intended to build both wealth and income, and according to researchers at the University of Pennsylvania, that's what it did. Researchers found employment among participants jumped from 49% at the program's start to 63% 6 months after it ended. They also noted more financial stability, resulting in 7% of participants being able to transition to better quality homes.
This is far more than about guaranteed income. It's about what happens when you build policy around trusting low-income Americans to know how to manage their own money.
And the benefits suggest they didn't stop there. It also showed mental and physical health improvements. Another program has started, and more research is being done on that program. St. Paul Superintendent Joe Gothard is one of 4 finalists for National Superintendent of the Year from the American Association of School Administrators. Pretty cool honor here. He's on the short list after winning Minnesota's Superintendent of the Year back in October. Gothard has led St. Paul schools since 2017. The Superintendent of the Year will be announced in February.